Want better sounding drums in Maschine? Well, stay tuned in this video because I'm going to give you some tips in Maschine on how to do it. What is good, everybody? It's VibeSynthetic. Now today I'm going to talk about a few features in Maschine that I regularly use. In this case, my new single that just came out last Friday. You guys can check that out on Spotify and Apple Music and all other digital streaming platforms. Link in the description below. I'm going to use that newly released single as an example with the drums done in Maschine, and you guys can see how I actually make my drums sound better with some of the features I use regularly in Maschine itself. Let's get into the video. Here in Maschine, I'm just gonna let you guys listen to the drum pattern itself. So first thing I want to talk about is basically the bounce of the drums. You can actually adjust the swing of individual sounds and individual groups. If you were to look into Maschine and go into this section over here where it shows this sort of like a knob icon, and you can see this section is called groove. So you can actually change the cycle to what kind of groove you want, or you can even go to the other parts of the sounds and you can adjust the amount of groove here. The other thing is you can also adjust the group bounce, which most of the time I usually do it to add some bounce to the whole drum arrangement. I'll do it at 1/8, reduce the amount to 0, and you guys can hear the whole group bouncing as I increase the amount of the groove. So I usually like to put it at maybe about 20% or 30% just to get a little bit of bounce over there. The other thing about Maschine that I like when programming drums is basically the pitch and envelope section. Now, if you were to click at this plug icon over here under sounds, I can go to the pitch and envelope section. By default, the settings is actually one shot when you load in the sample, but I changed it to ADSR. These settings will actually make your drum samples sharper. I can actually increase the attack. Let me just solo this out. And I'm just going to increase the attack. And as you decrease the attack, it gets more harder. If I were to play the snares, reduce the decay. You see, it sounds very interesting. Your drum samples can be manipulated in such a way that you adjust the ADSR. Also, one more thing is I can always tune up my samples in this pitch gauge section under the pitch envelope section as well. And if you were to play around with the tune, I'm going to just play it for you guys. It's really sound manipulating in terms of the waveform that they are adjusting to the taste of the music that you're doing. The next thing that I really like about Maschine is basically the sampling mode. If I were to click on any of these samples in the sound slots in the groups of the Maschine, I can always go to this waveform icon over here. This is the first thing that you will see. Now, in order to see your waveform, you need to hit the edit button. As you can see over here, my kick is pretty much cropped to this point. Now, the reason why I do this is because I really wanted my kicks to sound a little more tight, a little more sharp. When I play the kicks, let me just play it. You see, it's a lot more brighter, but as I push it down, it's a lot more tighter and darker. So this is pretty powerful, especially if you play around with the envelope section and also clipping off from the sample section. Likewise for hi-hats and snares, I can shorten the snare. What makes it more interesting is you can also reverse the snare. The most favorite part about using Maschine, especially with the hardware, is the fact that I can do note repeats and also nudging notes. When it comes to nudging notes, if you look closely at my snare over here, And when I zoom in, it's actually not exactly on the beat. It is nudged slightly. So at the bottom left here, you can actually adjust your grid position of how much you want to nudge a note. So what I usually like to do is to do a 64 or 128 nudge. When I press shift pad 7 or pad 8, I can nudge that amount front or backwards. So let's nudge it and you can see the difference. So nudging your tracks to make it less quantized is the best way to make your drum bounce. And I feel that Maschine has made this a lot easier for me to dequantize my drums. The last thing I want to talk about is note repeat. Now, if you can see these notes over here, these are actually done by the note repeat function in Maschine. On your Maschine, I'm using a Maschine Micro MK3. There's this note repeat function which you can click and then you can adjust the time of the note repeat. When I tap that note on Maschine itself, the note repeat will function. So let me just give you an example when I play on my machine. The note repeat actually applies to the heads, and how I do that is basically clicking note repeat and then use the rotary encoders to change the time signatures of the note repeat while I record these MIDI patterns. So that is really very useful. Finally, I'm talking about the velocity. You can actually draw in the velocities like any other DAW so that you don't have to touch it in your MIDI pattern in Logic. I can always click on the pencil icon over here. I can just change the velocity with just a drag like that. Now there's a lot more possibilities that you can do with Maschine in terms of drum programming. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want to know more about Maschine and its features that helped me produce this track. Now as you can see, I use Logic and Maschine together. They are both integrated to give the best workflow for my drum sequencing. I like to sequence my drums in Maschine because it has the envelope and the pitch section of the drum options. But also I use Logic Pro because I use it to mix my drums in terms of EQing, reverb, compression, and many other things as well. Now, if you guys are interested to get this Maschine and Logic Pro template, you guys can download it on my Ko-fi page. Go support me on my Ko-fi, link is in the description. It's pay as you want starting from $1. Otherwise, I can also show you guys a previous video that I did that integrates Maschine and Logic Pro up here. You guys can check my newly released music on Spotify, Apple Music, and other digital streaming platforms that was released last Friday. And also you guys can find out more about me in terms of sound design, Maschine and Logic Pro on my Instagram at VibeSynthetic. I hope to see you guys there and chat with you guys more. Now before I end this video, if you guys really like this video, remember to smash that like button and subscribe to my channel. Hit that post notification bell button so whenever I release new Maschine videos, you guys will get notified. I'm VibeSynthetic once again. Pleasure to be here, always giving you out the best Maschine tips, Logic Pro and even wave music. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.